Are you struggling with staying balanced and staying in control of not just the point, but yourself or in the tennis court? Happens to a lot of us. Maybe it's fatigue, poor footwork, or just poor focus. And a lot of times it can come down to improper fundamentals. But even with fundamentals that need a little bit of tweaking, with these two tips that I'm going to share today, we're going to have the ability to stay in better control, have better balance, and with those two things, you're going to be more consistent and hit better quality shots, whether it be a forehand or backhand. The two tips that I'm going to share are two of the most impactful that I've learned in my time as a player. When I was a junior, my dad used to love to say that I was like a baby giraffe on roller skates. I had this huge growth spurt where I grew 6 inches in like 4 months, and I was gangly. But what happened to my tennis game is that everything got kind of messy. The stroke production wasn't sound. I was falling off the ball quite a bit. My chin was floating. These all probably sound familiar. We all struggle with these inconveniences of the game. So what my coach had me focus on, and my dad should get some credit here too, but I learned to play shorter than I actually am. And what that means is that by the time I was ready to strike the ball, as I was moving, I would start getting lower, and you can see there where from 6'2", I would start playing closer to 6 feet, maybe even 5'11" on a good day. And by getting lower and more stable with a wider base, I was able to control my stroke and the direction of where I wanted to go. Now, that doesn't mean that you should, pull an Angelique Kerber and just stay low and super tight to the baseline. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. The cadence in which we move is really, really important. So after serving and returning, if I'm, slightly over or in the deuce court, from the split step, a lot of times my first movement will be slightly upright, but not all the way upright. You see, I'm not going to be standing with my knees completely straight up and down. I'm going to be loaded because I want to be like a spring. I want my feet to be able to move quickly. And it's as I track right up to the point that I'm ready to strike the ball, that's when I sink into the shot. And that's what I want you to remember, is that when you're ready to strike the ball, sink into the shot. Because if you're just here, it's going to be too difficult to have proper optimal movement. We want to be able to move quickly, and then as you're ready to hit, sink into the shot and play shorter than you are. Now, what I really liked about this, and it's something that to this day that when I compete, it's one of the things I really focus on, is by playing shorter than you are, you also learn to control your head, right? By getting shorter, you have a tendency to either get the chin out to the ball or lower the chin just a little bit, and your head stays nice and still, also helping with control. Now, tip number 2 is about operating inside the circle. All right, and what I'm referring to is your swing path, whether it be a forehand or a backhand, you want to stay inside the circle. Imagine your body having a center line, and this is kind of like the steel pole that everything else operates around. We like to tell the kids to pretend like they're playing tetherball. That's right. Think back in the day when you would hit a tetherball and you would try to get the string to straighten out and operate the furthest point around the center line, and that's typically how it would wrap around the pole. That's kind of what we want to do with the stroke on the forehand and backhand. Now, when we're doing this, just keep in mind the circle operates more in front of you and less behind you. It's not completely even. I'm not standing in the middle of the circle. And that's because we don't want the backswing to get too big. We really want to focus on creating the parameters of the stroke. So on my forehand, I get the left hand as a righty. I get my left hand out across. This kind of allows me to tee up the ball as if, kind of like in golf, they have a tee. I'm going to tee up the ball. And from here, as I swing out, as the racket extends to the farthest part of the circle and then comes around, you're going to see that it's very circular. Now, what I mean by operating inside of it is that if you end up too upright, if your chin floats, what we see a lot of times is that the swing path suddenly starts working out at that 45 and then it's trying to come over and the circle gets really funky. Or we see like kind of the wannabe Rafas, right? Like where we're not necessarily doing that intentional. I think sometimes players think their opponents are, but if you're late on the ball and all of a sudden the racket starts operating here, you're never completing anything that looks like the circle. So when you're competing, whether forehand or backhand, I want to make sure that I'm playing short and I'm swinging and I'm staying inside that circle, keeping everything very, very controlled. Now, what I also like about this tip is it helps you understand spacing, right? So think about tetherball. We said we want to get things as far away from the center to operate with the best circumference, and that's how it's going to work regardless of either stroke. I want to make sure that I have enough space that my arm can get relatively straight at contact and then work around. Arm doesn't have to be perfectly straight. You know, we look at the Federers of the world and maybe their forehands are, but you look at Djokovic and other players, the elbow is slightly bent. But it's all about getting the spacing in order to operate inside the circle. So just remember, for better control and balance on the tennis court, play shorter than you are. Play several inches below where you are. Stay low and sink into the ground when you're ready to hit the ball, but not before, right? You don't want to be doing it from the middle of the court when it's time to move. And 2, keep everything inside the circle on your forehand and backhand. Don't let it operate outside the circle because you're losing control. I hope today's video helped an absolute ton. If it did, leave it in the comments. Give me some feedback. If you hated today's video, leave it in the comments. It's called engagement. All right, and if you are looking for a tennis partner, guess what Player Court does? Or a tennis lesson. We have the most tennis coaches actually in the country currently that will come to the court of your choice. You get to pick where you want to take a tennis lesson. So check that out too. Links in the comments section. I'll see you next time.